Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for inviting me to come back and talk with Rays of Healing. I appreciate being able to come in. My name is Kat Riegel, and I started working with animals in about 2007. So I've been working for many, many years with them. And what I usually do with an animal is I can make a telepathic connection to them. And so I say, let me be your animal's voice. And what I do is work to help make the connection between the person and their animal a little bit better. So people that have questions, sometimes you have like a dog that maybe you've had for 8 or 9 years and you're like, oh, okay, this dog's getting a little bit older. Maybe we want to bring in a new one. And then I can step in and I can help find out, does your current dog actually want a companion? So I get called in for things like that. If there's a health issue, sometimes I get called in. End of life questions can come up because nobody ever wants to rush an animal out, but you don't want to keep your animal. And if there's anything that they're hurting or suffering with, people often want to know, what can we do to help this animal feel better, or find out, is it their time? So that's what I often do. However, a lot of times when I'm talking to an animal, there's different things that will come up, emotions, stresses, something that causes behavioral issues, where just talking to the animal isn't always enough. A lot of times we find out, like, let's say you have a dog who just barks all of the time. The doorbell rings, the dog goes crazy. Somebody walks down the sidewalk, the dog goes crazy. And you're like, I can't handle the barking anymore. I can come in, talk to the dog, and then ask them, what's up? What are you trying to do? What's with the alerts? Why are you telling your person so much all of the time about everything that's happening? And we can maybe get them to realize that if they can just alert their family that there's somebody out there, maybe it's just one bark, and then the people can go look and go, oh, hey, good job. Okay, it was just the postman. No worries, all good. Oh, nope, that's somebody sneaking around in the bushes. I'll go out and investigate. So we can sometimes get the animals to kind of calm down, take their job maybe a little less seriously. Sometimes they don't listen. Sometimes they're like, I don't have any idea why I'm barking. I just feel like anything that's happening outside of the house, I just have to bark and just tell my person, look, 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 look. Even if the person looks, I don't feel like they're paying enough attention. So I'm going to keep barking. I want the person outside to know that I'm here, but I don't really know why I'm doing this. And so then sometimes we go a little bit further, and I can use a technique called emotional freedom technique or emotional freedom release, where we can look at a little bit more behind the scenes, if you will, and kind of go into the subconscious part of the animal's mind, where again, there's times where if we use people, for example, because this technique can also be used on people. Let's say, well, for me, I have this innate fear of the dentist, and I'm not really sure it's really that I'm afraid of the dentist. I don't really think we're going to have like a little shop of horrors situation come up, but I don't like to go. It makes me very uncomfortable to sit in the chair. The sound of the drill, the taste of the toothpaste that they use, it's not comfortable for me. But I also had some serious teeth issues as a kid, as a child, and several teeth had to be pulled out. It's made me not want to go to the dentist. So sometimes this sort of a technique can be helped where I can actually go make my yearly appointment and get my teeth cleaned because I know it's good for you. Um, and I can do it, I can process through it. And I don't feel like the dentist is afraid of being bitten by me anymore. So it's kind of helpful. No dentist wants to be like, what you doing? And get their finger bit. So so with animals, in this case, what we kind of do is we help them to sort of process through, let go of whatever that fear is. And you may have already heard this type of a term where we have two reactions really to almost anything that we do in life. You have a fear, a feeling of love and openness. And when I say love, I don't mean that you have to love everything that happens in life, but if you can meet an experience without feeling trepidation, if you can meet that experience with curiosity, if you can meet it with like, ooh, what's next? Joy, happiness, cheerfulness, those kind of feelings all go into the love side of the world. And then the opposite is fear. So if you have a situation where you're not sure what's going to happen, it maybe truly that you're scared of a particular situation. It could just be that it's the unknown, unexpected, unexplained. Those types of things make people and animals a little bit cautious. So we have our love and our fear relations, and that's how we approach most things in life. With the emotional freedom technique, what we're hoping to find is a bit of a balance in that. I don't mean that a dog has to go from like being scared to go to the vet to like, let's go to the vet. You're probably never going to get quite that reaction out of them. Though there are some animals that are like, oh, the vet gives me treats, I'm happy to go. So hopefully we can get them someplace in the middle. One of the things that this helps to release, and I apologize, I'm going to jump and change that for just a second. I'm trying to look at the camera, but my computer screen is just off to the side. So if you see me looking off to the side, it's because I can see your faces on the computer screen. I can't see you through the camera. So I'm not looking at anything else. I'm just like looking at you on screen off to the side. Um, but while we're talking about this, there is like three things that kind of happen. One is we have an event, something that happens, maybe we call it a distressing memory that triggers a fear. Sometimes our animals know what caused that. Sometimes they don't. This could be something like as a puppy, for example, they're sitting around there with their mom. There's a thunderstorm happening, and big loud boom with a thunderstorm. It causes the power to go out. People in the house get really excited, start running around, and the puppy accidentally gets kicked because they couldn't see it in the dark. So now this puppy has kind of this like, ooh, big loud noises, and I get a pain in my side type of a thing. But they don't realize it was the thunderstorm that triggered it. And then years later, there's some place where there's a thunderstorm or fireworks, a car backfiring, again, a big loud boom, and they go into fear and panic mode. And sometimes people don't realize it. We hear a lot of noises sometimes that your brain registers what it was, but you don't really pay attention to it because it wasn't something that you felt was urgent or an emergency thing to you in your situation. These types of fears are something we want to work through. It causes a negative emotion, a negative reaction from the animal. And what's happening here is we have the event, the thunderstorm or that loud noise, to the negative reaction. And there's this weird little break in between the cause and effect. And that's what we're trying to avoid. This is why sometimes memories happen, something happens, an event can happen, and you recognize that you have a fear, you know what caused that fear, and your brain can be like, okay, I know why I'm afraid of this. I don't have to let it affect me, and you can go on. Sometimes you don't recognize that. This is why memories can cause some people to have reactions and some people don't have reactions. So two people could go through a very similar experience, one have a bad reaction, one be like, I know what caused it, I can deal with it and move on. And we want to try to use this emotional freedom technique to help make a connection between things. But the nice part is we don't actually have to know what triggered this in the first place. We know something happened. We're going to take away the fear of what happened, that negative emotional outcome, and we're going to replace it with a feeling of love, of peace, and help that animal move through what stuck them into place or that reaction into being like, okay, I can deal with this and move forward. Just a kind of a little bit of information on this. This is the animal freedom technique is based on human emotional freedom techniques. And there's two schools of thought and how this came about. One is called traditional. It was really based on Chinese type of medicines. And the Chinese have systems where they work with meridians within the body, but some of their techniques that they use don't necessarily line up with actual meridians that we see. And so they can go off, they can do different things. This working with animals is more of a transpositional sort of a service here. And what this means is that we're going to use in Western medicine and here and what I use are we're using more system points on the body that actually line up with some meridians. So it feels maybe a little bit more connected, or you don't have to understand as much about the Chinese medicine system culture to make it all fit together. What this is that what we're doing is when we tap with the animal, a lot of people ask me about this with animals. If you've ever experienced the technique yourself, usually whoever you're working with, the healer, will actually tap on the person while they're saying something. And so I've had people ask me, well, don't you have to be right in front of the animal? Do you have to physically touch them? And it's like, no, the nice part about this technique is that we do not have to touch the animal, which is probably beneficial. Imagine your cat, if you were to sit there and you were to tap on the cat's face, how many cats are really going to let you touch their face or do things? You're like, poke, 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 and they're all like, I'm done. I'm out of here. That little swipe goes off. If you have a dog who's being aggressive, do you really want your hand in there right by that mouth tapping on their face? I wouldn't. So the nice part is when we do this with our animals, we can use ourselves as a surrogate. And what we do with that is we ask the animal to know that we want to work with them. We're asking them to understand that we're using us or yourself as a surrogate for the animal. And we ask if it's safe and in their best interest. And if we get a a yes answer, then we can work with them and work on it. The other thing that you can do, and I have my stuffed kitty here, you can use a stuffed animal. So if you don't want to tap on yourself, or if you're working with somebody who, um, some people feel sensitive or they wouldn't be comfortable being touched necessarily if you're working with them, you can use a stuffed animal. And then again, your stuffed animal becomes the surrogate, and we would work on the animal using the animal as the actual person that we're talking with. I'm just going to use me in this case or this scenario here for when I'm doing this. And let's see. Sorry. You can also help animals that you don't know, wild animals. If you, let's say, you live near a park and you happen to see a lot of birds, or you're somebody who's an avid birder and you happen to go out and maybe you see a bird who looks like they're injured, or um, y- here it's really hot right now, so a lot of our birds don't actually sit up in the trees, they're actually on the ground. And you see a lot of birds standing there and their arms and wings are spread out really wide. What they're doing is they're closer to the ground, they're trying to get the cool air, and they're trying to get cool air like up under their wings, and they'll pant. I don't know if you know this or not, but birds don't sweat. They pant like a dog does to help cool themselves off. And so a lot of times I have people going like, oh, these birds are in distress. There's like 6 of them. They're on the ground. What do we do? What do we do? I'm like, let them be. They're cooling off. They'll be fine. But maybe you look at them going like, okay, these birds are in distress. So you can be like, okay, for these wild birds, you're going to do this emotional technique, try to help them feel a little bit better, maybe a little bit safer about being on the ground where they maybe can't fly away as fast if like a cat or a child on a bicycle was to ride by and they feel like they have to try to get away. So you can help them feel safer while they're there. You can also use this for animals like birds, I'm sorry, fish. Like you can't really touch fish, but if you have a tank full of fish and maybe one has ick, you're trying to help it feel a little bit better. So wild animals in the woods, you go camping and there's that raccoon that wants to get into your food and you don't really want it in your food. You could use this to help it kind of relax about fear of humans or feel if you're hungry. If you have a neighbor, for example, who has a dog, and maybe the neighbor has a dog, but that dog is barking, the neighbor's out of town, so the dog is maybe feeling lonely, or you feel like it's feeling lonely, you can use this technique to help that dog as well. Even though you might not know the name, you can just be like, okay, the neighbor's dog, and sort of talk to it that way. With the proxy, the reason that this works is what we're doing is we have to focus our intention onto the animal, and we let them know that this is the intent. And it's really important to have the intent behind it because that really helps draw the focus. And this is something where you are changing the behavior, the state of mind, By changing your system as you tap on you, it changes the animal system because you have the intent that you are working with them in mind. This has been done a lot of different times. People use it with animals that they don't know, animals that are in the wild, different places where maybe you can't get towards an animal and can't help them out. So this is something that can be done. This could be used on almost anything, a training problem. Let's say you have a horse who you're working with, and the horse is having training issues or is afraid to maybe do a jump or do a specific move. Health problems, temperament problems. So, like if you have an animal who feels grumpy all the time, you could use this. Relationship issues where maybe you have animals who aren't getting along with each other, you can use this to try to help them get along a little bit better. You could use it with fears, phobias, unhappiness, animals who are resentful of something. You can use it for allergies. So if an animal is just really like sneezing all the time, allergy issues, you can help them try to feel better. Pain and discomfort. So if an animal's been injured, you can use this to try to help them release some of that pain. Past traumas, animals that come from an abuse situation, you can help them try to let go of that abuse from the past and sort of move forward. Just pretty much anything else that you can think of. So now what we want to do here is kind of like talking through the system or talking through how this works is one of the things you want to do is you really want to focus your intention. So you have to think about the animal and what specifically you're trying to release. And we want to connect with that animal. And what we do is we would say their name 3 times really strongly. So I'm going to say I have, just for this example here, a cat, Billy, and Billy has been afraid of going into the laundry room because the washing machine went off balance as he was trying to walk through, and now he's afraid to go through the laundry room. But the litter box is in the laundry room, and he really needs to use it. So I'm going to make my intention for Billy. I'm going to say to Billy, making me the proxy. I am Billy. I am Billy. I am Billy. This helps me connect into his field, and then we're going to come up with a statement for what's happening where I would say, even though I'm afraid of walking through the laundry room because of that loud noise, I love and accept myself. And this is the phrase that we're going to use. It's kind of a long one. Even though I'm afraid of walking through the laundry room, I love and accept myself. It sets the whole message. As we start working through the technique, we'll shorten that just a little bit, but it lets us focus. We'll use a shorter version, and then sometimes we go a little bit longer with it. And then the part of this where kind of call it the blessing is the I love and accept myself is we're taking away that negative event or emotion, helping it relax. And the I love and accept myself fills that space that we just emptied with peace, with love, again, acceptance. It puts something positive into that space of negativity that we just opened up. As we do this, what's going to happen here is we want to start out with the full opening statement here. And one of the things we do is you can put your hand kind of on your chest. Doesn't matter right or left hand, whichever you're most comfortable with. It's going to go kind of above your heart where you do this. And there is also a space kind of in the chest. If you've ever done tapping on yourself, like kind of just below the collarbone, again, either side, but just under the collarbone, there's a spot where if you tap it, it actually feels a little bit tender. So it's called a sore point of all things. But that sore point is where we're kind of putting this focus. And as I was be doing this for Billy, what I would do is I would put my hand over my heart and I would just kind of rub it in a little circle. And I want to think about Billy, his face, and I'm giving the intention to him and thinking, um, I am Billy, I am Billy, I am Billy. And asking Billy, is it safe and acceptable to be able to be his proxy to help release this emotion? And you're going to keep rubbing in that little circle until you feel kind of a release or you feel it warming under your hand. And once you kind of feel that warming, you know you have your connection there. This is where we're going to start to make the statement. Even though I am afraid of walking through the laundry room, I love and accept myself. What we're going to do is we're going to come into the tapping part of this, what I recommend is making that full statement 3 times, because the power of 3 comes up in a lot of different things, but it helps really set the intention. It helps really go from a, "This is something we wanna work on," to, "This is truly the intention," by saying it 3 times. The tapping part of this is where we start to open up, and we're going to use like a shortened version of this. And we're going to do, you want to use like 2 fingers maybe. I tend to use actually just my middle finger, and I just do 1 finger. But as you're tapping and we go through this, we're working in the animal's behalf again. And you might want to start out by kind of like setting into your own intention, figuring out on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so bad, 10 being pretty scary still, where is this emotion or this fear? What is the animal feeling? If you have anything from like an 8 to a 10, there's probably definitely a fear happening here, and we want to release that. And then as we work through this, we'll start to ask them again where that fear level is, and hopefully the number will have changed and dropped down. So as I start doing this, I'm going to start, there's different points that we would tap on for this. The first one is up on the by the eyebrow, where your eyebrow and the bridge of your nose come together. And we're going to tap here, and you would tap like 7 to 9 times. And I would say, like, "My fear of the laundry room, I love and accept myself. Even though I'm afraid of the laundry room, I love and accept myself." You're going to come out to the corner of the eye next. And again, it doesn't matter if you're doing the right or the left side, but we're going to work off the corner of the eye, 7 to 9 taps. "Even with fear in the laundry room, I love and accept myself." You're going to come under your eye. So if you were looking straight ahead, it's kind of like under where the pupil is, right on the bottom of the eye socket there, 7 to 9 taps. "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." You're going to tap under the nose, right where like a mustache would be. And "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." You're going to also tap under the mouth on the chin in the lower lip area, that little hollow that happens there. "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." Then you're going to come out under your collarbone. And I'm sorry, my camera doesn't go down low enough, but you're going to come out under the collarbone, tapping there. "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." And then there's a spot where you need to kind of lift your arm. So it's under the side of your arm, the rib cage, and you would tap there as well. "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." One thing about that point is, if you were doing this in a public place, like let's say you've gone out to a restaurant and maybe there's a child screaming in the restaurant, and you're trying to send calming energy, calming thoughts to the child, you can do this. You can go through some of the tapping things in public. People won't necessarily know what you're doing. You can leave out the one under the arm if you're in a public place, just because it looks kind of weird if you tap yourself under the arm there, but you can still do the other tapping spots without affecting what's happening. But if you do the under the arm, then what you're going to do is you're going to come to your hand next, and you're going to want to start with your thumb. So if you look at where your thumb is, the nail that comes up along the side, you're going to tap on kind of like the knuckle just above where the thumb is. "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." You're going to come to the first finger, your pointer finger, and again, about the knuckles above the fingernail. "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." With the middle finger, "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." Skip the ring finger, and you're going to come to the little finger and do it on the little finger. "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." And then you're going to go to the back of your hand, the side of your hand. Like, think of it, if you were to do make a karate chop, it's like where that impact would be on the karate chop. "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." And then you're going to come to the back of the hand. So between where the ring finger and the middle finger are, there's a spot just above where the V of your fingers meet, and you're going to tap there. "Even with fear, I love and accept myself." This is called the gamut point, and you're going to go through that. Now, once you've tapped through all of these positions, you kind of want to stop for a second, and you want to ask, "Okay, Billy, how are you feeling?" Honestly, I've seen this work where you can go through one round like that and it's fine. The fear is gone. Sometimes it takes a second or maybe a third time through, but you're asking the animal, how are you feeling on that scale of 1 to 10? How comfortable are you? How more relaxed do you feel? Could you walk through the laundry room now? Do you have that fear? And depending on your answer, you're going to go through this again or you're going to stop. And for this example, we're going to say that Billy was like, "No, I think I can walk through the laundry room now." It's like, "I think I need to go to the bathroom." So the goal is to really reduce that stress level. And animals, if they're really open to help being helped like this, are pretty good at answering and responding quickly. Humans tend to respond a little bit more slowly. We like to process things. We like to think through things. So sometimes working with the animal is more helpful because you get a faster response. So Billy has told me that he's feeling good right now. He feels like that fear is gone. So what we want to do is we want to close out this process. We want to let him know that things have happened, that the shift has gone on, and there's a way to close this where we need now to have the brain sink in this feeling, to lock it into the body, to be able to hold on to that. We don't want it to go away. So what you're going to do is keep tapping on this gamut point on the back of the hand. So we're just going to keep tapping on there. And the process to help close this is you close your eyes for a few minutes, a few seconds, sorry, not minutes, but you close your eyes for a few seconds. Then you open your eyes. You're going to look down to the right without really turning your head. You're going to look up, look down to the left, then you're gonna roll your eyes in a great big circle. So you kind of look like you're moving your eyes along a clock, and then you wanna go the other way, roll them the other way around that clock, and then you're gonna hum for 2 seconds. So, hmm, then count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hum for 2 more seconds. Hmm. And then you can stop tapping and your process is complete. You've kind of sunk in that new information, that new energy. And then a lot of times your animal is like, great, we can watch Billy walk off and go use the litter box. It's like, yay, so you got the goal that you were looking for. Sometimes what can happen here is as you're tapping, like let's say as I was working with Billy and I was working this and I was like, okay, I thought it was the fear of the washing machine going off balance, that really loud noise, the vibration of the machine. And in doing the process of the tapping, Billy might have told me, like, I'm afraid to go to the litter box because Pewter jumps on me every time I get out of the box. This is a thing for cats sometimes where there's like a jealousy or a weirdness, or it's like, you used my box. I don't want you in my box. So if we had been tapping and another thought, fear, emotion come up out of it, we would go through another round of the tapping and giving a new statement. So maybe this next statement would be, even though I'm afraid of being jumped on by Pewter for using the litter box, I love and accept myself. And then we would go through that round, and you might say, fear of being jumped on, fear of being pounced on. Sometimes changing the word. So what you start out with might seem like your word. So if you think an animal's afraid of something, and you hear the word, I'm afraid, but as you are working through this, you hear or sense another word in it, and it says, I have trepidation, I have anger, I feel jealousy. Other words can come in. Know that as you hear those, that might be the actual underlying cause, or it might be something else that's happening. And you can keep working through rounds of the emotional freedom technique using that new word until you don't hear any more new words, until you get that softening, the number has gone from 10 down to 0 or 1 even, so that you know that things have shifted. The nice part about this is as you go through this technique, you could use it. You can let the animal process for a day or two, find out, come back a couple days later if you need to and ask, how are things going? Do you feel better? Or do you feel safer? If they say yes, you're like, great, good job, keep it up. If they're kind of like, no, I think I have something else going on, or I have this concern now, you can again do another round. You can do something else. There's nothing harmful in what we're doing with this. There's nothing that makes an animal do anything different. We all have free will. This does not change free will in any way. It just kind of helps relax. It gives a tool. It just opens up a little bit of feeling. It puts more of a feeling of love and peace back into what's happening in their life. And the more that we can move with ease, the better life is really for most everybody in almost any situation. So, what this technique does is it opens up the possibility and the space for more love and ease in a life. Nothing negative can come out of that. Um, and so that's the process that I use. It sounds like it takes a really long time, and I've had this happen where I'll work on an animal. It can be 5 to 10 minutes that we do this. Sometimes it could be a half an hour. It just kind of depends on what's happening. This technique can also be used on humans. Here, I won't really use it, but I have like two human examples that come up. So if you have decided to use it for yourself, for example, I was dating a guy for a while and we had to go visit his family who lived up in Wyoming. So I laugh every time I think about this. He had an absolute fear of flying, had never really flown anywhere before. I grew up, my dad was Air Force. I'm like, poof, planes, they're great, they're safe, you can do things. My dad went flying all the time. So we get into the airplane. We had to go from Tucson to Denver in a pretty good sized jet. And then from Denver to get into where we went to in Wyoming, it's a teeny tiny little airport that I think was barely a step up from being a dirt track for the airplane. And we used a little propeller jet to get in and out. I thought it was great. That plane was so much fun to fly in. He was so terrified. He was sitting on my left side. His hand went over, clamped onto my thigh, and by the time we got to Riverton, I had to pry his hand off of my thigh, and I had a handprint mark from him for a week and a half where he bruised me because he held onto my thigh so strongly. For the trip home, I was like, we're not doing this again. You need to go through this. So I did this technique for him, and we were able to fly home. And he was like, he goes, wow. He goes, I don't understand why I was so afraid the first time. So it opened up for him. He didn't feel different. I've had this work for me personally where I'm not a fan of bees, wasps, hornets, anything like that. They have little stingers. As a child, I was stung by bees. I had a wasp get me like through the eyelid into the eye one time. And it's like, this is not a fun experience. And when I would see a bee or anything that remotely sounded, resembled a bee or any kind of flying insect like that, I'd pretty much scream and I'd be in the next county and people would be like getting their car, drive out, pick me up, bring me back again because I had just run like crazy. And I was like, okay, this is silly. I cannot keep living my life running into another county because I see a bee. So I had this technique done with me. And as soon as we finished, other people, because I did it in a classroom setting, asked me if I felt different. And I'm like, I don't feel different. Nothing appears to have changed. And they're like, well, how do you know if it worked? I'm like, I guess I'll find out when I encounter a bee. Couple of weeks later, I was walking into my workspace and a bee flew right in front of me. And it couldn't have been more than 10 inches from my nose when it just flew right in front of me. And I was walking, I go, oh, it was a bee. And I took about 4 more steps when I stopped and I went, it was a bee. It worked. So for me, that fear was gone. When I've used this with animals before, a lot of times because I'm working with clients, we'll work on it, and so I don't always have that great, like, remarkable experience. We've worked on something where we tried to help calm people. I've got one client who she has a huge property, and she has 4 dogs, and the dogs get to go out and kind of run the property. And there's wild animals that can come through. So there's like wild deer, coyote, bunnies, like all kinds of just desert animals can come through the property. The dogs love to go out, and don't you know, her dogs love to eat animal poop that they find. And they just think it's the tastiest snack ever. And we've been working for a really long time to try to get the animals not to eat whatever poop they find out there, no matter how exciting or tasty it is, because it was giving them health issues, and they kept ending up on antibiotics. And she goes, I just can't do this anymore. So we used this emotional freedom technique, and I went through and I tapped with all four of them, the four dogs, and asking them to know that, eating the poop wasn't great, that even though it tasted good, even though it was exciting to get the flavors, even though it was something new that they were experiencing, that this wasn't something that was beneficial to them. Three of the dogs quit eating poop, and one, the youngest one, was just kind of like, it's like, I don't care, I'm going to eat it anyway. So we're still kind of working through one of them, but we did get three of them to stop doing it. So she felt like it was pretty beneficial in that aspect. Not having three dogs on antibiotics is a big plus. So knowing that the results can happen sometimes right away, sometimes we have to keep working it or do something different. With this one, I feel like we're still working through it. I think it will change, especially because the other dogs aren't being an example to this last dog, and they're not eating it. So I think he's going to also take his cue from them, that they'll stop, but you don't always get to know the results. For me, with clients, if the animal's behavior changes, if they're not having issues anymore, I don't always hear back from a person. So if I don't hear back, usually it means things have gone really well. The behavior changed. It's not an issue. And as people, even though I'd like to say we remember things, sometimes the reason that they contacted me to make that change, once that is not a problem for the person anymore, they don't think about me, they don't think about it, they don't necessarily acknowledge the animal. Oh, good job, you're not doing whatever that was. So results might be a little mixed. You may see it, if you work with clients yourself, you may get them to tell you results, but you may not always find out if it worked or not. Trust the system, trust in yourself. As you're doing this process, you'll get that sensation, you'll get that feeling. Yes, it worked. There's, I don't even know how to really explain it, but for me, you don't really hear it, but I feel like something clicks, and whatever that agitation was or the vibration that we were working on is just gone for me. So for me, it's like this little shift from like one it's on to two it's off sort of a situation. You'll notice your own modality, how you work, what you hear, sense, feel. If you're a healer and you're working this with a technique with somebody else, trust your own instincts. Trust you know what the positive results are. So this is kind of how the process works and what I do. And what I kind of wanted to ask was, did anybody have like a question about what we're doing here? And then I'd had a volunteer for this evening who had a dog that we were going to work with to give like a more real life example, but she was not able to join us on the call tonight. So I do have time and a space here. So if somebody had an animal that they thought there was an issue, I'd be happy to go through this and we can work this out. And there's two ways as well with that. So if somebody has an animal you want to try this, I can guide you through it. You can be your own proxy for your animal, or I can be the proxy for the animal, and we can both kind of do it at the same time. So any questions from anybody?
I have a couple of questions and I'd be happy to volunteer as well.
Okay.
I'm familiar with it being used for emotions, but I'm not familiar with the behavioral change, like asking it not to do something. Help me understand that, how that would work. Why
Okay.
that?
For animals, behaviors are often triggered by an emotion. So if we're afraid of something, and again, I tend to use dogs, so I don't mean to pick on dogs necessarily, but they can give me some great examples sometimes. So a dog who is, let's say you have a dog who came from a rescue situation. So for whatever reason, they didn't have this like great loving home. They weren't like kept with their family, but they went out, or maybe they got lost outside. Now they've been rescued and they've come to a new family. For them, the trauma of having gone through I was with this great space. I had my family, I had my litter. Then I was cold and hungry, and I was someplace I didn't know anybody. And now I'm here trying to fit in. The behavior is acting out, barking at anything that startles them or scares them. And so people see the behavior of barking as the bad thing. I look at it as the barking is a result of fear because they don't feel safe. So it's what causes them to do that behavior is really the emotion behind it. If you have, let's say, a cat who you need to get it to the vet, and you get out the carrier and the cat goes under the bed. It's like most animals, most cats don't like to go into the carriers. They know they're probably going to a vet. Most people don't take their cats a lot of different places. So the behavior of hiding under the bed now was really triggered by the fear of having to get into the carrier. It's a small enclosed space, getting into the car, going to see a stranger who's probably going to poke them, stick them with a needle, give them a shot, those kind of things. So we want to let the cat know that that behavior of hiding is, again, probably a fear of being caged in a small space, traveling in a car, being motion sensitive. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on releasing the fear of that small carrier, helping them understand that it's a safe space for them to travel securely. Getting in the car means that it's just a way to get them to where we can get help for them, things like that. So does that help at all? Kind of.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
About not eating the poop, I wasn't sure that there's an emotion there.
In that particular case, it's like from the dog standpoint, it's like, oh, I've got a snack, I've got something good to eat. It's like then they get really wiggly, they get very excited about that. From the human standpoint, it's like eating something that's been digested. Other animal poop could have parasites in it. So then if they've eaten it, now they have the parasite or they have an upset tummy, diarrhea issues. And so the human is now dealing with the results of that animal trying to process through something that wasn't good to eat, or that maybe gave them the parasite. So from the animal standpoint, they're excited, thinking like, oh, this was just fun. It was tasty. The human looks at it as like, that's just disgusting. And so we want to take that one and maybe help change it a little bit, where it's like, okay, poop might seem like a tasty snack, but you have a great sense of smell. So we're going to ask that instead of eating it, maybe you just smell it. Pick up the scent, pick up the smell, and then go back to the house and ask for the greenie or whatever the more appropriate treat is for the dog. So we kind of shift that. But in a case like that, because the dog was like curious, exploring, having fun, I don't really want to squash a fun feel, but we'd like it to be a more constructive fun, if that helps any.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Can I bring in, use myself and my cat as an example on
Yes,
something?
yes, that would be fine.
Oh, that would be super, because this, I think, is, it could result in a health issue. Um, both of my cats are fairly old, 17.
Okay.
They're not on fluids yet, but they drink a lot of water. One of them screams and yells and carries on and paws at the water dish, and seems like he's frustrated. He's got one fountain, but they share it. They have a fountain and a fairly big water dish.
Okay.
Drag that across the floor, and uh, if he's angry and frustrated, I feel like he's frustrated because the water doesn't move, and the one that's stationary, there's something going on, but something emotional, the way he yells. I don't want him to drink less water because it's a source of frustration.
Right.
I want to tone him down, and I can certainly do part of this, but I don't know what the underlying emotion is.
Okay. In this case, I would actually go back and I would want to ask him, what is he sensing about the water dish? Why is he moving it, or what is causing his vocal reaction to it? Um, and I would probably ask him there first. And I'm really sorry. Can you hear like a weird vibration noise coming from me?
No, I don't hear anything myself.
Okay. Okay. My cooler just started making a weird noise. So if anybody can hear that, please let me know and I'll shut it off. So it's, it's like kind of weird. I'm like, it better be fine up there. So could I ask the cat's name?
Sure, it's Rocky.
Rocky? Okay. And what does Rocky look like?
He's an orange tabby cat with medium length to long hair.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to Rocky, and I'm asking Rocky to know that you and I are on the phone here, and that I'm asking Rocky to know that I can kind of be his voice, and I'd like to ask him some questions and see if we can help find out what's going on, and asking Rocky, would he be part of our conversation? And I hear him say yes to that. And I'm like, okay. So I'm asking Rocky that you have described for me where you see him at the water bowl or one of the water dishes sometimes. And it seems like he's being very vocal or he's moving the water dish. And would he explain to me what is happening? Why does he want to move that water dish? Or what is he like asking for and talking about here? Okay. You had said there were 2 water dishes. This one feels like it's more of a bowl, like the water is more stationary, like once it's in the bowl, it just sits there. Is the other it's like a fountain, it moves the water, it flows the water?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What he's telling me is the one that the water doesn't move, it looked like he was hopping up, he was back there behind you, I think. Okay. I
Exactly.
was
Good
he
job.
knows we're talking to him. So, so Rocky is saying that the bowl that doesn't have the water moving in it is the one that the other cat will let him drink out of more, but he wants more movement. Like he thinks it's nicer, it's fresher seeming to have the water flowing. Um, but at the same time, he also tells me that he feels like the water moving in the fountain gets in his way to drinking it. So he actually does prefer the more stationary water because he can drink it without it moving, but it feels like he wants it cooler. You could try adding ice cubes to the water to help it the ice in it, the cooling sensation as the ice dissolves, it gives movement into the water of its own. Cooler water often attracts cats more. The movement of it part, he says, actually has a little bit more to do with it feels like the water bowl is too near where traffic can come through and or the food dishes. He feels like it's too close to the food. Some animals don't like their food and their water together. It's kind of a throwback to when they were in the wild. So if he had been a wild cat on the savannah, if he's killed an ibex, he doesn't want to drag the ibex near where the water is because then as the ibex has died and they're eating it as it rots away, if it contaminates the water, now their water is sick, not good for them to drink. And so a lot of times, even though, clearly he doesn't have to go out and kill his own food and drag it into the kitchen to eat, but that fallback to my food and my water are too close together can kind of come into play. So in this case, though, because he said like the other cat doesn't want him to get to the fountain dish so much, it seems like it's not something that you're going to notice because the other cat doesn't want to be in trouble. So the other cat isn't doing this when you're there, but he's telling Rocky kind of behind the scenes or in another room, that's mine, don't use it. So he's giving him this message, he's sending it. So what I'm going to ask Rocky to do here is I'm asking Rocky, and I'm going through kind of rubbing the heart center here and asking Rocky to know that we would like, I'd like to be a surrogate for him. And I'd like for Rocky to know that we want this to be a safe place and asking Rocky, is it acceptable to be a surrogate? And can we help try to let go of the fear of the other cat preventing him from getting water? Okay. And he's saying yes to that. And so as I'm working this, we're going to make the statement here. And may I ask the other cat's name?
Zen, Zen.
Zen. Okay. So asking Rocky if we can use this statement, even though Zen doesn't want me to use the fountain water drink, I love and accept myself. And asking Rocky on a scale of 1 to 10, where is he at? He says it's like an 8 to a 9, depending on whether Zen is actually in the room right now. I'm like, okay, so thanking him for that. And I'm going to ask Rocky to know that we're going to start working with this. So even though Rocky is afraid of Zen keeping him from the water dish, we love and accept Rocky. Even though Zen keeps Rocky away from the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Even with fear of the fountain, drinking from the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Now I'm going to go through the statements here. So even with fear, we love and accept Rocky. Even with fear of drinking from the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Even though Rocky's afraid of drinking from the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Even with fear of drinking from the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Even with fear that Zen will prevent Rocky from drinking from the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Even with fear of drinking from the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Even with fear of drinking from the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Even with fear of drinking from the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Fear of the water, love and accept Rocky. Fear of the fountain, love and accept Rocky. Fear of the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Fear of the water fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Fear of drinking from the fountain, we love and accept Rocky. Okay. Now I'm asking Rocky, how is that feeling for him? And on a scale of 1 to 10, where are we at? Rocky's dropped it down to a 4 for me now. So it's definitely down. I am hearing a couple of other things here as Rocky is saying that now you know what's happening here, that you're going to be able to better kind of keep an eye on things. If the water dishes are separated a little bit more, it feels like Rocky will be able to drink from his dish. Zen will be able to use the fountain. So there's a little bit of separation there. But I'm also kind of hearing from Zen, he's feeling jealous about this. He's like, how come Rocky gets so much attention? He's like, Rocky's needy. So so sometimes in this case, I think what
Ken
I'd
wrote
like
the
to,
book, The Needy.
it can happen sometimes. You know, you have two hands. You can love on both of them at the same time, but they're not always good with that. Like one will get in between you and the other. Um, I'd like to do a round with Rocky. I'm sorry, with Zen to let go of the jealousy. Would that be acceptable for you?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So we're going to ask Zen to know that even though he's got some jealousy of Rocky sharing his water dish, that we love and accept him. Okay.
You
And
want to know what
ask,
he looks like?
I'm sorry.
You need to know what he looks like so you can tune in better.
No, in this case, Rocky actually gave me a picture of Zen. So I feel like shorter hair cat. He's darker colored in fur.
Oh, no, he's white,
He's
actually.
white.
Well, maybe his perception of him is dark. Yeah, he's white.
Okay. Sometimes it'll come through like that. The colors will come through, but it's like I also feel like the jealousy color is pulling Zen's aura colors down right now.
Oh,
So it feels like it's a little bit mixed in that one.
that's a
Um,
riot.
that's too funny. Okay. So asking Zen to know that even though he's jealous of Rocky using his water dish or sharing the water dish, we love and accept him. Even if Zen is jealous that Rocky uses the water, we love and accept him. Even if Zen is jealous with Rocky drinking the same water, we love and accept him. Even with jealousy, we love and accept Zen. Even with jealousy, we love and accept Zen. Even with jealousy of the water dish, we love and accept Zen. Even if there's jealousy from drinking out of the same water, we love and accept Zen. With jealousy of the water dish, we love and accept Zen. Even feeling jealous, we love and accept Zen. Even if there's jealousy, we love and accept Zen. Even with jealousy, we love and accept Zen. Even if Zen is jealous of Rocky, we love and accept Zen. I'm asking Zen, how does he feel about that? Zen's demeanor has relaxed with this one. There's a softening in his energy to me. The way I feel him when I first tried to tap into him, he seemed very like hunched in a way, like the picture that he gave of himself is sitting there, but I feel like his shoulders were kind of clenched up, his head was down a little bit, very kind of grumpy look to him. Now when I ask him about that, he's sitting up, he's more relaxed. There's more of a neck space between his head and his shoulders. um, he says some of this is a concern that he feels like Rocky may be starting to have physical health issues. Um, So I know you said they were older cats. The drinking of a lot of water isn't necessarily a huge concern to me, but it's something that if you go to the vet, that the older cats, they always want to do all the senior panels and everything else. I'm not a vet, and I don't say don't go to a vet or don't do them, but I know budgets also kind of play into this too, and you have to look at other factors about what you think their health concerns are. But I would keep an eye on Rocky and just make sure that he does still drink water. Kind of keep an eye on their litter boxes. If you notice, like if you use clumping litter, for example, if the size of the clumps from urine, keep an eye on those if they start to get really huge. Like if you make a fist and that pee clump is this big, or you see like Rocky not wanting to use the litter box, if he's screaming after he gets out of the box, you could have signs of like a UTI or crystals forming. So that may be something to keep in a mind, keep an eye on. Zen is concerned that Rocky could have these health issues. Zen doesn't feel like he has them. So it's just kind of something to keep in mind. But they're both feeling pretty good right now about this. Like there's definitely an ease. It feels like Rocky can drink and he may not move his water so much because he feels like you're going to move that for him. And Zen is feeling like he could use, maybe share the water dish if he wanted to, but he feels like they both kind of prefer their own water sources. So they'll probably keep using them separately. So what I want to do here is kind of close out for these guys. So I'm asking both, I'm going to do left hand for Zen and right hand for Rocky, and just kind of like holding them both right now, closing my eyes, opening my eyes, looking down to the right, looking down to the left, making a big circle with my eyes one direction, rolling my eyes the other direction, humming, counting to five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, humming again, and asking both Rocky and Zen, do we feel complete with the process? I get yes from both of them. So there's an ease on both of them, but it's feeling like Rocky's telling me that he feels like he can drink better. It'll be safer. I say safer, but he's like, not being pounced on by his brother or not being yelled at by his brother is going to be more relaxing about getting a drink of water. And Zen is feeling like he knows that they both need water and they can both have it, and that you have equal love and affection for them, and that you're willing to give both of them anything that they need or want. So it's feeling a little bit calmer towards the water now. So the thing is, you may not see this right away. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but give it a day or two, see how it goes, make a couple of those little adjustments, and then, kind of get a feel for did it work or not. If you don't think it did, you can go through this whole process again with one or both of them, kind of getting a feel and just reinforce it in another day or two if you need to.
Okay. I'm willing to get another fountain if they want to have their own fountain.
If it's kind of like a waterfall type fountain, Rocky says okay, but he says one that kind of like spurts or makes like a water jet. He doesn't like the idea about the water jet kind of coming out at him. So if it's more like a water fountain and it just flows down the side, he says that might be okay. But he says the other kind seems to splash him more, and he doesn't want to be splashed by the water.
Mhm. Okay, but he can get his face in there, okay.
He says yes. It feels like the way that the bowl, like the water comes down, but it feels like there's a wide space for the bowl.
Mhm.
Too narrow if their whiskers touch the sides. A lot of times cats don't like small bowls if their whiskers touch.
Okay, this is really very helpful, and you're so right that Zen, he won't let Rocky go where he eats. I just didn't know the fountain was gonna be a part of this. You can't go there. Aspect.
It, it's always kind of funny. You know that you're going to make sure both cats have food and water and what they need, but it's like there's always that little thing, I think, sometimes in their mind where they're like, I don't know, if I don't eat this, that one's going to get it, and I don't want them to eat my food. So it comes up sometimes. And these things can settle down after this. And it could have triggered from like a long time. It's just always how he's been. Or sometimes it can trigger from something really odd. Like maybe you had a visitor or a family member come and stay with you for a week. It changes the routine enough that the cats kind of be like, oh, this isn't the way everything was. We don't have our normal routine. I don't feel very settled. And so sometimes even something like that where you think it was great. Aunt Mabel came to stay with us for a week. She gave lots of attention to the cats. She loved them. They loved her. And then Mabel leaves and they're kind of like, oh man, we're off our routine.
Well, this was super. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, thank you and to Zen and to Rocky for being volunteers here. Appreciate that.
Well, they do too, I'm sure.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Could you show us the gamut point? Could you hold your hand up one more time? I wasn't sure I had it.
Oh, the gamut point. So let's see if we can get the hand here. So between your ring finger and the middle finger, there's kind of a V and it comes down. There's a spot where you can kind of feel a little bit in between the bones of the hand there, but I feel like it's kind of right about an inch down from where that V is and probably about an inch from the edge of the hand. Sometimes like people will pinch it so you kind of get a good pinchy feel and you can feel where it squishes in a little bit. Such a great technical term, squishy body parts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Kat, I have an unusual question, and because you're so great in being able to get into the mind of the animal, um, I no longer have him. He
Okay.
passed away about 3.5 years ago,
I'm sorry.
but his name was he was a corgi, and he was the sweetest corgi on the face of this earth. He was, and then he had a sister that we obviously had too,
Right.
who was a feisty little thing. And and so their names were Sammy and Delilah.
Okay.
And he was perfectly named. But one thing we noticed one time, we took him to the DC, and I was walking towards the Cherry Blossom Festival, and a drum and bugle corps was playing,
Okay.
and he went berserk. He couldn't get out of there fast enough. And this is a little dog who was so agreeable, did everything you wanted him to do, just
Oh,
he was just the, like I said, the nicest little personality. And yet he turned and started racing away. And I kind of tuned into him at the
hmm
time. And I
hmm
felt that he was killed, that his spirit was alive in dog form. In well, actually, I'm not 100% certain, dog or human form during the American Revolution. And he was killed, uh, while he was listening to the drum and bugle corps. So that's all I got from him. But I know my understanding is we take it with us, our emotional baggage with us when we go into spirit. And I wondered if this will continue to trail him. Is there any way to release him from the fear of the drum and bugle corps?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Okay. And it was kind of funny. The American Revolution didn't come up for me, but as you were describing that, um, Scotland came up on this for me, and drumming with Scots popped up. So, but
Okay.
if he had been carrying this through, American Revolution would have been another time. Drums, bugles, it sounds like that could have been used. Maybe with Scots, it would have been more of an accordion than a bugle, but still the higher sounding noise vibrations on that one. And yes, so this is something that sometimes our animals can process through, but and so they would take it in, they can process it through. But again, I kind of feel like you're right. I think you're on the right track here, that he is carrying this through. So in this particular case, this could be something where we could certainly work on this, use this, and I would change the verbiage just slightly. So you're still going to picture Sammy in your mind and have a good image of what he looks like. But we're going to say the spirit of Sammy, the spirit of Sammy, the spirit of Sammy. And I'm asking, is it safe for us to help the spirit of Sammy release any fear that could have come up, any remains of trauma from a previous life that may have come up with drumming or dying from a war or sounds where this would have happened? I'm hearing yes. And he says both times he feels like he was a bystander. He was watching what was happening and wasn't actually taking part in what was like the event that was happening. So for him, it's also saying that as like just a witness on the sideline, to be a victim of something that happened that he didn't directly participate in, it also gives him that, like, I wasn't even doing anything when this happened, and that would certainly trigger. So yes, we can absolutely go through that. So in this case, we're going to say for the spirit of Sammy, we're asking to release the fear, the trauma from the sounds of drumming that may have released him from a physical life. And we're asking him to know that the release of life and the fear, we love and accept him. Okay. And he's saying yes. So in this case, sorry, I need to clarify. I don't have a good verbiage on that one. So asking the spirit of Sammy to know that even with the fear of drumming that caused a release of life, we love and accept him. So spirit of Sammy, even with the fear of drumming, the sounds of drumming and the release of his life accidentally, we love and accept him. So the fear, the sound of drumming, release of life, we love and accept the spirit of Sammy completely. With fear of the noise, of the drumming, of release of life, and accidental release of life, we love and accept Sammy. So even with the sounds, the fear, loss of life, we love and accept the spirit of Sammy. Even with fear from the sound of drums, the accidental release of life, we love and accept Sammy. The sound of drums, the release of life, we love and accept Sammy. The fear of the drums, the release of life, we love and accept Sammy. Even though there was fear, the sound of the drums, the release of life, we love and accept spirit of Sammy. Even though there was the sound of drums, a fear and release of life, we love and accept Sammy. Fear, sound of drums, loss of life, we love and accept Sammy. Fear, the loss of life, we love and accept the spirit of Sammy. Fear of the drums, the sound, the loss of life, we love and accept Sammy. Fear, the sound of drums, the loss of life, we love and accept Sammy. The sound of drums, the loss of life, we love and accept the spirit of Sammy. From the fear, the sound of the drums, the loss of life, we love and accept Sammy. I'm asking the spirit of Sammy. This time, I feel like we need to do this one more time. This has gone on long enough. He held it long enough that I don't feel like this one has totally released. He says like he understands you trying to help, but I feel like we went from an 8 on this one down to a 6, and I feel like we need to get this a little bit lower. And so I'm asking Sammy, is there a different word? Is there something that we need to change in our statement here? He's saying that the unknown, the unexpected result is what is causing him more. So I'm changing it this time. So it's going to be for the spirit of Sammy, it is the fear of the unexpected loss of life. We're going to love and accept him. So from fear of unexpected loss of life, we love and accept the spirit of Sammy. Fear of the unexpected loss, we love and accept Sammy. From fear of the unknown, unexpected loss, we love and accept Sammy. From the fear of that unknown loss, unexplained loss, we love and accept the spirit of Sammy. The fear of an unknown loss, unexpected loss, we love and accept the spirit of Sammy. Fear of an unknown, unexpected loss, we love and accept Sammy. Fear and an unknown, unexpected loss of life, we love and accept Sammy. Fear of an unknown, unexpected loss of life, we love and accept Sammy. Fear of the unknown, unexpected loss of life, we love and accept the spirit of Sammy. Fear of that unknown, unexpected loss of life, we love and accept Sammy. Fear of the unexpected loss of life, we love and accept Sammy. Fear of the unexpected loss of life, we love and accept Sammy. This time there's been a definite, like a lift, a feeling here. He's saying that like when I look at his image here, the best way I could describe it, and sorry, sometimes like what I see is so hard to explain, but it's like if I look at his energy, what makes Sammy Sammy, there was like a smoky haze kind of around him, and it's like a great big huge shot vat kind of went down and just sucked that cloudy haze right off of him. So now there's a much more crystal bright light that's the spirit of Sammy that I can see, but that haze is gone. It's just been sucked off and released back with love and light. And so we're going to close for Sammy here. I'm just going to keep tapping, and we're going to close our eyes, open our eyes, look down to the right, look down to the left, do a great big circle with the eyes one direction, do a great big circle of the eyes to the other direction. We're going to hum. Going to count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hum again. Okay. Okay. The image that Sammy gives me now is very bouncy. He's like running, but it's a springy little hoppy kind of run that he's doing. And then he shows me that he's in this great big grassy field, and he rolls over and he's just like wiggling on his back in the grass. And it's just like that really like that happy I'm alive kind of a feel look on this one. So there's definitely been a release here. So hopefully he won't feel the need to bring that back if he chooses to incarnate again, and that he'll be able to like let that one go and be able to move through having that. So that was a great example. I feel like time and distance, past lives can come into this. It doesn't matter, like time is kind of all together. So it was a great way to help and to release him. And I definitely get a very strong feeling of gratitude from him towards you. So
Super, super.
nice job.
He was a corgi, and we just loved him. We just because like I said, he was the sweetest personality on the face of this earth. And everybody that when we took him to the cherry, around the tidal basin,
Yeah, yeah.
50 people would stop us and say, "Oh, can I have a photograph with him?" It was just wonderful, He was so great. So I'm really happy that you were able to do that, because I kind of had it in the back of my mind. Never really dawned on me that there could have been two lives that he had experienced that.
In that one, it was very strong, because as soon as you had said the American Revolution, I'm like I could see that, and he definitely shows me like looking at the white spats that are kind of around the boots, and I see
Yeah.
like the black boots and more feet, but it's like above his head you can hear where the drums were, and like I keep hearing shots in the background. With the image that I had from him, I see more of like it just a really grassy hillside. There's like some bouldery type rocks that are popped up around it, but I can see like boots and bare knees and bottoms of kilts around him. So it's like, but he says it's like that really helps him to let go of that. He also said, as you were describing the picture taking, he says, yes, he goes, I love to be an ambassador. And he goes, I had such a great look. And like he shows his little face, like he loved it. And he says, Delilah would never do that because she didn't like to share herself so much.
He did. So,
So they're so funny when they tell on each other. So thank you very much. And my thanks to the spirit of Sammy for joining us for this.
great.
Okay. Well, I think that actually brings us pretty much to the time that I had. So I really do want to thank you all. And I know we have a closing circle. I think coming is this is the right time for that. Well,
Yeah,
again, and thank you to all the participants. I very much appreciate that you were willing to give some time for this to me.
great. Wonderful. All right. So everybody very gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and exhale. And first and foremost, we want to thank Kat for being our presenter today, for bringing her special skills and bringing her special love of what she does and all the animals that were willing to participate in the presentation. Um, and we thank dear Mother, Father, God, divine, infinite spirit, source of all that is. We thank you for this wonderful evening spent together in the presence of our four-legged little representatives of love, of loyalty, of human understanding, and Davic understanding from their own species. We thank you for the assistance of the angels, the archangels, the ascended masters, the Reiki masters, but most especially Master Jesus, Master Buddha, Master Katumi, Saint Francis, Saint Germain, Saint Gabriel, Saint Raphael, Saint Michael, the Blessed Mother, the Divine Feminine, Mary Magdalene, Moses, Metatron, Melchizedek, Mohammed, and Kuan Yin. We ask to be cleared, centered, aligned, balanced, and grounded. And that whatever come in for each of us come in for our highest good. We also ask to be a clear channel of light for Metatron and our healing angels, his healing angels, so that we each receive the highest vibrations of light possible. We also ask for the assistance of the great rays, the lords and masters of the rays, and the archangels of the rays. We ask all of this in the name of Jesus the Christ and in the name of I am. Amen. And again, we thank all of you for coming here and participating in tonight. Kat is a paid speaker, so their contribution, a suggested contribution of $25 is much appreciated. We share that with her. And we are just so grateful to continue having this community come together twice a month, 3 times a month when the paid speaker shows up. So, and that's 4 times a year. And so we really, again, Kat, this is one of the presentations that I probably look forward to all year. And
Oh, thank you.
as usual, you were just marvelous, and I'm just so grateful for your presence here and
Thank you.
your skills, and that Donna met you when she was in Tucson. So
Yeah.
that was really neat and everything. So, and yeah, bid everybody good night and just have a wonderful rest of the month.
Wonderful peace and blessings to everyone.
Peace
And
and blessings to you. Thank you. Thank you so
call
much.
your pets.